Hi, Right Riders, Cruz here. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, we're going to be looking at the second CLEP essay for college composition. Please keep in mind, Right Riders, that we only have 40 minutes to write this essay, and the introduction and the directions and the assignment, all of that is included within the 40 minutes. So I have not looked at the directions. I have not looked at the introduction or the assignment. All I did was copy and paste what was required, where you pay the $10 to CLEP to basically do a practice test. And I just copied and pasted the sources. I have not read them. Copied and paste source one and then source number two, and then just set it up so that I can go ahead and start constructing my essay. I'm a little bit scared. I'm not going to lie, Right Writers. I'm a little bit nervous as to what I can accomplish in this time frame. But we'll see. Okay, timer is going to start. So I will go ahead and start the timer, and then I will go into um, speed reading mode, Right Writers. So I can tell you as soon as I hit that start button. Directions. The following assignment requires you to write a coherent essay in which you synthesize the two sources provided. Synthesis refers to combining the sources and your position to form a cohesive supported argument. So, this is an argumentative essay. You must develop a position and incorporate both sources. Okay, so this is very interesting because it says I have to not only develop a position, but that I need both sources included. You must cite the sources whether you are paraphrasing or quoting. I prefer quoting rather than paraphrasing. Refer to each source by the author's last name, the title, or by any other means that adequately identifies it. Good to know. Introduction. A copyright gives the author of a creative work, like a film painting or audio recording, exclusive rights to it. Only the holder of a work's copyright has the legal right to copy, publish, or profit from the work. Many people agree that copyrights are a good thing because they give creators the opportunity to benefit from their creative work. However, many people also agree that the free exchange of ideas is good for society because it fosters creativity and innovation. They argue that, therefore, in many instances, there should be no copyright restrictions. Okay, this is going to be really interesting on thinking about that because I feel like I'm already addressing it by looking, showing you all this, knowing that I, paid for this source and I'm providing it here on on my YouTube channel, for us. So, I can already see that I'm leaning towards, there should be no copyright restrictions. Um, and I have some ideas on how people maybe can get compensated in other ways. So, assignment. Read the following sources carefully, then write an essay in which you develop a position on whether copyright restrictions benefit or harm society. Be sure to incorporate and cite both of the accompanying sources as you develop your position. Okay, so definitely here is um, my prompt is developing a position whether copyright restrictions benefit or harm society. I'm going to argue that they harm society. However, I will also, time permitting, boy, I sure hope I have time to look at, do a counterpoint within the essay as well under the time restrictions. Okay, so I've got the first source, Epstein, Richard, the creator's own ideas. Sounds like he's going to be for that there should be copyright restrictions. So let's take a look. The following passage is excerpted from an article in a journal on technology. Okay, that's just those two paragraphs, source number two. And as I'm reading, I'm going to go ahead and highlight what I think I'm going to use. No matter one's political beliefs, it is critical to remember the strong economic imperatives that drive modern societies to legislate some form of copyright protection. Just as we protect private rights in land for the benefit of the community, not solely for a property's owner, so too we have a social reason to protect writings and other intellectual creations. As the 18th century philosopher John Locke would have it, a just society recognizes the natural rights of its citizens, including the right to protection of their productive labor. But copyright has an additional justification. It fosters huge positive contributions to culture in the form of novels, movies, manuals, music, and other works. Some creators are motivated solely by the desire to create and would be happy to distribute their works under simple terms, requiring attribution only. But for most authors, compensation matters, and we increase their production by limiting the rights of others to copy their work. Okay, I definitely I think I'm kind of leaning towards borrowing this right here. So I think I'm going to be using this part there. Some creators are motivated solely by the desire to create and would be happy to distribute their works under simple terms, requiring just attribution. Most authors, compensation matters. Um, and I agree with that. It's a matter of how that's going to be, how that should be done. All right, next source. Source 2, Lessig Lawrence, The Future of Ideas, The Fate of the Commons in a Connected World. Definitely sounds like he will be for just having property, intellectual property for everyone. So this is from a book on intellectual property. Obviously, many resources must be controlled if they are to be produced or sustained. I should have the right to control access to my house and my car. You should not be allowed to rifle through my desk. Hollywood should have the right to change admission to its movies, to charge admission to its movies. If one could not control access to these resources, or resources called mine, one would have little incentive to work to produce these resources, including those called mine. But likewise, and obviously many resources should be free. I should not need the permission of the Einstein estate before I test his theory against newly discovered data. These resources and others gain value by being kept free rather than controlled. A mature society realizes that value by protecting such resources from both private and public control. We need to learn this lesson again. The opportunity for this learning is the internet. No modern phenomenon better demonstrates the importance of free resources to innovation and creativity than the internet. To those who argue that control is necessary if innovation is to occur and that more control will yield more innovation, the internet is the simplest and most direct reply. And that's it. That's all we have. Okay, so I definitely like where this is going. Um, I'm going to highlight this part and I'm going to use that part from Lessig and then the other part from Epstein. Okay, so now for my prompt. I've got 32 minutes and 55 seconds remaining. Whether copyright restrictions benefit or harm society. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and copy that um, prompt. And I'm going to put that prompt right here. Okay, so that I have it. Let's see how to begin. I'm just going to start with my argument because I am not going to sit here and be thinking about my introduction and conclusion right now. I'm just going to start with the last sentence of my introduction. I believe that copyright restrictions harm our society and its progress. So that will be the last sentence in my introduction. And I'm just going to jump into, and maybe I'll just say therefore as my last, therefore I do believe that copyright restrictions harm our society and its progress. Um, for instance, and I'm just trying to think of maybe the sources, and I'll start with education first. For instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. It is the go-to outlet, or I'll just say it is the go-to medium for accessing information. For instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. It is the go-to medium for accessing information, for accessing information, for accessing information. For accessing I'm just trying to think of for instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. It is the go-to medium for accessing information. If one is writing a paper, one goes, um, if one is writing a paper, and one gets stuck. So I'm using one because, again, that's third person, formal third person. If one is writing a paper and one gets stuck, um, stuck, one goes, um, one jumps online to look for examples. If one is researching a paper or a paper, one types in the appropriate search terms or query terms. So depending on where you want to go with that, you can say search or query. So appropriate search terms. If one is researching um, for a paper, one types in the appropriate search terms to access I don't want to use access back to back. So in the appropriate search terms to um, to find, if one is researching for a paper, one types in the appropriate search terms to find the necessary documents, or the necessary sources to find sources, the necessary sources to complete task. If one is For instance, many young people cannot, at 25 minutes and 21 seconds remaining, right, writers? For instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. It is the go-to medium for accessing information. If one is writing a paper and one gets stuck, one jumps online to look for examples. If one is researching for a paper, one types in the appropriate search terms to find the necessary sources to complete the task. If one is writing, researching, if one is looking for a specific paper, one consults. If one is looking for a specific paper, one consults the online world. If one is looking for a specific paper, the one consults the online world for um, its whereabouts. Okay, and it's almost like I want to say, everything is Googleable. um, without a doubt, without a doubt, everything. It seems as if everything is Googleable. I'll put that in sort of um, quotation marks there. Without a doubt, it seems as if everything is Googleable. When we create restrictions, around, so going back to on intellectual property, let's see, copywriting, on um, intellectual creation, copyright protection. When we create restrictions based on and intellectual property. We stifle and maybe I'll say this instead. When one creates restrictions based on copyright and intellectual property, one stifles academic progress. Okay, now I'm thinking of, I have 19 minutes and 47 seconds remaining. Um, Without a doubt, it seems as if everything is Googleable. When one creates restrictions based on copyright and intellectual property, one stifles academic process. Um, okay, I could go ahead and borrow this, right, writers, and go ahead and include this part. It's a pretty long section. Um, Okay, I'm going to borrow just this part right here. So this part is great. The opportunity for this learning is the internet. Um, so I'm going to borrow it there. So I'm going to control V, and then I'm going to go ahead and use according to, and actually I probably could just get away with, again, quotation marks and then Lessig in parentheses. Okay, I think I might borrow this instead in and include this as part of it. Control V. Um, and maybe I'll just say his name instead of Lawrence Lessig. Um, Experts such as Lawrence Lessig, who wrote experts such as Lawrence Lessig, who wrote, comma, agrees. Okay, and this case, I can go ahead and make that, underline that. Because it's a book. So hopefully that's good. Okay. Um, Without a doubt, it seems as if everything is Googleable. When one creates restrictions based on copyright and no little intellectual property, one stifles academic progress. In addition, adults. So I've got 15 minutes remaining, right, writers? I'm going from young people to adults. In addition, adults have grown to rely on technology as an important resource in their daily lives. Okay, and I'm looking to see because I want to make sure that I include Epstein as well. So, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and borrow that. Some creators are motivated, so I know I'm going to incorporate this in the next paragraph. So I definitely want to incorporate that. And okay, um, adults have grown. I'm just moving everything down, right, writers, to the one page. 14 minutes remaining. And in addition, adults have grown to rely on technology as an important resource in their daily lives. Um, if one is not sure how to if one is not sure how to find the oil filter in their car, consults channels. If one is not sure how to find the oil filter in one's car, one consults YouTube. If one is not sure what to do about a low fever, if one is not sure about, if one is not sure what to do, if one is not sure about what to do, whether to take, if one is not sure, so I was trying to think of, again, just sort of consulting Reddit as well. If one is not sure about what to do, um, This pet is attacked by ants on a Sunday, on an early Sunday morning. Sunday morning, one may go to Reddit too. So if one is not sure about what to do when one's pet is attacked by ants on an early Sunday morning, one may go to Reddit for advice or guidance. I forgot the two in there. What to do when. Let's see. Even critics, such as and going to Richard Epstein, EIN. Even critics, such as Richard Epstein, recognize benefits even critics such as Richard Epstein recognize the benefits of okay, recognize the philanthropic mentality. Even critics such as Richard Epstein recognize shared by many individuals. And then I've got his quote. Some creators are motivated solely by the desire to create and would be happy to distribute their works under simple terms requiring attribution only requiring attribution only. Some creators by the desire to create and would be happy to distribute their works under simple terms. Even critics such as Epstein recognize the philanthropic mindset shared by many. Let's go with mindset. Mindset shared by individuals. By creators. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to take creators out, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the dot, dot, dot here, or ellipses. Okay, and let's see. Okay, I've got 6 minutes remaining, right, writers? For instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. I'm actually more concerned about the adult side. In addition, adults have grown to rely on technology as an important resource in their daily lives. If one is not sure how to find the oil filter in one's car, one consults YouTube. If one is not sure about what to do when one's pet is attacked by ants on an early Sunday morning, one may go to Reddit for guidance. Even critics, such as Richard Epstein, recognized the philanthropic mindset shared by creators. Okay, so I'm going to borrow this and I want to repeat myself again because it's again argumentative. When one creates, when one creates restrictions based on copyright and intellectual property, one stifles individual um, growth and one stifles individual growth and almost like individual growth, one stifles academic learning, academic progress, one stifles individual growth and learning. Okay, 4 minutes remaining, right, writers. I really need to come up with an introduction and a conclusion. um, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste my um, argument here. Indeed, I do believe. All right, so for our intro, boy, this is going to be tough. I've got 3 minutes remaining. Um, I mean, learning, posting, uploading. Let's see, learning, posting, uploading, commenting, um, liking, sharing, tweeting, learning, posting, uploading, commenting, liking, sharing, tweeting, downloading. Learning, posting, uploading, commenting, liking, sharing, tweeting, downloading. Okay, and I almost feel like these should be individual words. Learning, posting, uploading, commenting, liking, sharing, tweeting, downloading, um, emailing. And the list goes on and on. These actions are 1 minute remaining, right, riders? 1 minute and 12 seconds. These actions um, envelop the world we live today, the world we live in today. To think that we can stop it, we can control it, is laughable. Technology has outpaced, has outpaced, has outpaced. 3 seconds, right, writers? Oh boy. Um, I mean, I feel like I want to add like 2 minutes, so I'm gonna do that. I'm just adding 2 minutes, right, writers. So I am resetting the clock, and I'm gonna go ahead and edit the timer here, right, writers. I'm just gonna do 2 more minutes. So 2 minutes. Okay, here we go. Learning, posting, technology has outpaced. These actions envelop the world we live in today. To think that we can control it is laughable. Technology has outpaced us. Human development. Better to embrace has outpaced human development. Better to embrace what we have. Better to embrace what we have. I don't know what happened there, right, writers? Oh no, it's like my internet is going down. I see this rolling happening. I don't know what just happened. Almost like I lost the internet here. Has outpaced. Better to embrace what we have. Has outpaced human development. Better to embrace um, what we have and where we are rather than try and rein it in, rather than try to rein it in. Okay. And that timer is about to go off in 3 seconds, right, writers? Um, okay. So I think, again, I had a couple of seconds. So the only thing that I would probably do, right, writers, is I would take this, then I would control C, and at the end, I would just add it to the end. So control V. Um, and then I might take this part out here and then just say something like, um, maybe, and just maybe I probably would take this part out again. To think that it is that we can control it is laughable. I might just say technology, um, maybe even saying both Lessig and Epstein would agree that technology has outpaced um, almost our ability to control it. Might agree that technology has outpaced um, our ability to control it, better to embrace what we have. Both Lessig and Epstein might agree, and I would put that instead, right writers. So might agree that technology has outpaced our ability to control it, has outpaced our ability. And maybe I'll say has outpaced maybe the human mind. Better to embrace what we have and where we are rather than try to rein it in. So let's take a look again, right writers, at what we have. I'm going to go ahead and take it from the top: introduction, then I'll move into the two body paragraphs, then the conclusion. Learning, posting, uploading, commenting, liking, sharing, tweeting, downloading email, and the list goes on and on. These actions envelop the world we live in today. To think that we can control it is laughable, and I probably should have put a comma right there. To think that we can control it is laughable. Technology has outpaced human development. Better to embrace what we have and where we are rather than try to rein it in. Therefore, I do believe that copyright restrictions harm our society and its progress. For instance, many young people cannot imagine their lives without the internet. It is the go-to medium for accessing information. If one is writing a paper and one gets stuck, one jumps online to look for examples. If one is researching for a paper, one types in the appropriate search terms to find the necessary sources to complete the task. If one is looking for a specific paper, one consults the online world for its whereabouts. Experts such as Lawrence Lessig, who wrote The Future of Ideas, The Fate of the Commons in a Connected World, agrees. The opportunity for this learning is the internet. No modern phenomenon better demonstrates the importance of free resources to innovation and creativity than the internet. Without a doubt, it seems as if everything is Googleable. When one creates restrictions based on copyright and intellectual property, one stifles academic progress. And we could say, just one stifles progress, and I could have just kept it there. Next paragraph. In addition, adults have grown to rely on technology as an important resource in their daily lives. If one is not sure how to find the oil filter in one's car, one consults YouTube. If one is not sure about what to do when one's pet is attacked by ants on an early Sunday morning, one, instead of Mago, I should have said, one goes to Reddit for guidance. Even critics such as Richard Epstein recognize the philanthropic mindset shared by creators. Some are motivated solely by the desire to create and would be happy to distribute their works under simple terms, requiring attribution only. Again, when one creates restrictions based on copyright and intellectual property, one stifles individual growth and learning. Not sure I really like this sentence after that. I definitely think I I don't like the ending here, and I would definitely improve the closing of this paragraph. I really like what I did here on this one. Indeed, I do believe that copyright restrictions harm our society and its progress. Both Lessig and Epstein might agree that technology has outpaced the human mind. Better to embrace what we have and where we are rather than try to rein it in. Not really sure how this would be scored. I do know that I will say that the CLEP document that they provide does give you sample essays with, examples and scores. And so again, it's $10 and I highly recommend it. Because you also get the multiple choice section as well. And then also, based on what I read from the CLEP, two professors or two teachers or two instructors read it and then score your essay. That said, right writers, thank you again so much. I apologize for the rants or the ranting. That's it. I'm out. All right, back to IELTS in the next video groupings that I have. I should have four upcoming videos, 4 separate videos on the IELTS. Again, academic writing tasks 1 and 2. So please be on the lookout for those. And then I will continue to, um, put myself under these higher level timing experiences, writing experiences, as you all offer more ideas. Thanks again, Right Writers. Take care. I appreciate you sticking it out with Cruz. All right. Remember to subscribe. Remember to hit like. All right. Thanks, Right Writers. Take care. Love you guys. Bye bye.